A podcast portal casting light on the sacredness of life through the lens of creativity, somatic bodywork, holistic healthcare, mind-body connection, and more.
We invite you now to open your legs,
Heart,
ears,
and mind
to the transformative energy of remembering the sacredness of life.
Before we begin, please bring your intention within your heart space and provide consent to fully receive these codes.
Hi, Loomies. Welcome back to the Luminators Podcast. We're your hosts, Alyssa
and Lindsay. This sacred space invites you to feel seen, inspired, opened, probably a little triggered at times, but most importantly, deeply empowered.
Welcome back, you guys. We're so happy to be back. Thank you so much for waiting an extra week on us. You know, life be lifing sometimes, but we're back today better than ever with our first ever special guest. We want to, before we even begin, disclose that this is not medical advice, and there is a substance warning today because we will be discussing fungal allies and the medicinal properties of psychoactive mushrooms.
Woo! We are so excited to have the brilliant, incredible leader, freaking trailblazer, wildfire, Monica Lebsock on the podcast. Please introduce yourself. Tell us who you are.
Thank you so much, ladies. I am ecstatic to be here. This is my favorite podcast. To be a guest here is insane. Hello, everybody. My name is Monica Lebsock. I am a psychedelic integration expert, and I specialize in helping practitioners and therapists transition out of burnout and out of a clinical setting and into building their soul-led businesses.
Amazing.
Thank you for having me.
Oof, you're so welcome. It is our pleasure to have you today, Moni. You are an absolute trailblazer, to say the least, a wildfire, just like Monica said. So we really want to start with getting into the depths of who you are. I know that you are a psychedelic integration expert and the founder of HeartSpace Revolution, but please, let's begin with your HeartSpace Revolution. Tell us a little bit about that, what you do, and your target audience there.
Absolutely. I'm from North Idaho. Okay, and as I went through school and college, I was so attracted to medicine and biology. And so I have quite a history in physical therapy, occupational therapy, in emergency medicine as well. And every time I got a little bit closer to going into nursing or to pursuing a career further, I would pull back. I could see the gaps in Western medicine, and it just didn't sit right with me. And I knew there was something more. So I didn't know I was birthing HeartSpace Revolution. I was birthed as well many times through building HeartSpace Revolution. HeartSpace Revolution is a beautiful movement. It's truly a revolution. And it treats the body, or it treats the human as a whole, okay? Helping us connect the dots between our emotions, our symptoms, and our beliefs. And my mission is to empower people with the tools and the awareness to become self-healers and to thrive.
Yeah, as you should.
Yes.
What was a turning point for you when you realized that Western medicine wasn't the calling that was destined for you, and what really lit your fire to start that HeartSpace Revolution?
Honestly, I was bored. I spent several months working in an inpatient therapy clinic in OT and PT, and we would go in and do a lot of the same work every day. And I was honestly bored. And I had a really hard time throughout my life working a 9 to 5, first of all. We're not designed to work a 9 to 5, 40 hours a week. And so I was like, there has to be another way. It didn't light me up. So I started a business and just, I studied yoga. I studied somatic therapy, polyvagal theory and yoga, somatics. And that led me into building my own business, and it's been a beautiful process. Entrepreneurship is insanely challenging. It's the wonderful mirror. It brings up all of your stuff. And also, I have been able to witness the health and the vitality and the freedom that I've created. Like, we can create the lifestyle that we truly desire. And we can do it in a way that is sustainable and in a way that where you can deliver mass impact.
I have a question. So within HeartSpace, was Spirit Spores the genesis for HeartSpace Revolution, or was it the other way around? Tell us a little bit about that and what Spirit Spores is and how it integrates into HeartSpace.
So HeartSpace actually came through first. I took a business class and I opened up the business, and I chose HeartSpace Revolution because it was the only domain available. I wanted to be HeartSpace. And then as the years unraveled, I was like, yes, this is a revolution. It is a movement. I am a revolutionary. So HeartSpace began, and then Spirit Spores. Spirit Spores is so special. It's its own brand, really. Spirit Spores developed and came in really strong about 6 years ago, about 5 years ago. And that grew from me just playing with adaptogenic mushrooms and then adding in a little bit of medicinal psychoactive mushrooms and playing with different blends. And I would give them to my friends and share them. And I watched them start coming off of their antidepressants and feeling really good. And they're like, whoa, I was like, there's something here. So that's sort of where Spirit Spores blossomed from, with the infamous energy blend, which we'll get into the adaptogens and the components and all of the magic in the blends. But Spirit Spores is its own creation. It doesn't belong to me. The community is the brand.
Yes.
Right? It's all about the network, the mycelium network. So, yep.
Which we're going to get into is really digging into how mushrooms in general and just the fungal properties really are expanding the universe within our bodies, and how that reflects in our 3D reality, which is why this whole health revolution is so incredible, and how Monica is shifting and changing people's lives in such short amount of time. I mean, your clients are seeing results that usually would take 5 years of regular traditional therapy, and they are exceeding that quickly. So we're so excited to get deeper into that, and I love to hear personal stories as to why these particular plants or fungi came into the picture, how they're used, and let's get into personal stories regarding these beautiful, incredible allies.
Okay, I'll go first.
The mushroom woman will tell us.
Oh my gosh. So honestly, my curiosity actually... a funny backstory is the mushrooms actually led me to my current partner, who we're getting married, and I was curious about magic mushrooms. I had been living in southern Spain for several years, and I would pop up to Amsterdam, and we would try the truffles, and it was legal over there. So when I came back to the United States, I was in sorry, cold Spokane, Washington, rotting in depression and withering away. And bye. So I was like looking for some kind of support, and I followed my curiosity, and it led me to meet Kai, and here we are today. But I started on my journey with microdosing, and I have had experiences with macrodosing and in a recreational manner, drinking, that sort of a thing. But when I started working with the microdosing, I noticed something shifting within me. And I continued following that path and exploring it really on my own. And it was a little bit messy. And it is messy, especially when you don't have guidance and things start to come up and it can be uncomfortable. So that's why I mainly am heavy on the integration work today. Everybody has access to medicine, but we're starving for integration.
Yes.
Yeah.
Ooh, and this is where your expertise comes in, and this is where I have personally worked with Monica and feel why it's so important to understand who your facilitator is and why you choose certain practitioners and their relationship with the work that they're doing. And anyone who has gone to the pits of hell and to their own darkness with a particular thing, that's who I want to work with, right? I want to know what your journey is, what your relationship with these products are, and why why you were the one called to bring the medicine to earth and allow them to heal.
Yeah. you can have a hammer, but if you don't know what you're hammering or how to hold it, the tool, it's pointless. And so when you said people have the access to medicine, not medication, medicine, but not knowing how to actually integrate that as a life, as a ritual, living in that medicine, becoming it, and not just using it. I would really love to hear let's hear 2 personal stories, because everyone can hear the light and love mushroom integration, but I would really also love to hear a dark and hell integration as well, because it's just equally as important, if not more.
So are we going into the macrodose realm here?
Let's go. Let's go, baby. Straight to the deep end for these
All right.
folks.
So
We tell them from the beginning. We going in deep.
Click out now.
Warning. Trigger, warning.
So I am a being of incredible depth. I leave no stone unturned. I like to go to the underworld. I like to go down all the rabbit holes.
This is a Scorpio
I like
powerful woman
to
speaking.
fuck myself over and sabotage myself, so I have to crawl out of a hole and sprout wings and fly away. So those low lows are a launch pad to even higher highs, and I like the extremes. I like to play and splash in the extremes. So let me give you a little bit of background here. When I first came to St. Petersburg a little over 3 years ago, I didn't know a single soul here. I showed up with my mushroom allies and my businesses, and I couch surfed, I dog sat, and I bought a van, and I slept in the minivan. And during this time, I did some incredibly intensive work with our mycelium allies, macrodoses, by myself, solo. And some of these trips, the majority, I would say, were heavy. Incredible amounts of somatic purging, emotion, physically as well, like body shaking, what somebody might consider a bad trip, when really the mushrooms are working on you on a physical and energetic level, bringing everything to the surface that's ready to be acknowledged, processed, released. And that can be really confusing if you don't know what's happening. So that is a common experience, and I really met myself in those larger journeys and really had to hold myself and meet myself and get naked with myself and be honest about what I wanted and who I was. So it's been a really beautiful journey of me getting to know myself and just going to my own depths. And all of the challenges that come with it, there's a ton of challenges that come with it, and there's a ton of beauty. And I do want to share this story with you too today. It's very special to me, and it is a light story. Not a very light dose. I think this happened about, when I first was coming to St. Pete, when I was about a half a year into St. Pete, finding my way. Kai was with me. I decided to take about 6.5 grams of mushrooms.
Where were you?
Dog sitting.
Where? Not your own dogs.
Waterfront.
Oh, okay.
Beautiful home.
Excellent.
So I didn't know what I was getting into. Just like you never really know. You like to set your intentions when you're going into a trip, but the medicine is going to have its way with you, right? So this was the most profound journey that I have had so far. In this journey, I went into my medicine journey, and I began processing a lot and coming into that point of surrender. You're no longer driving. I'm no longer in control. I'm just present and witnessing and letting whatever needs to move through me. I'm laying in the bed, and Kai comes and sits by me. My father passed away when I was 8 years old. I am the oldest of 4 kids, and for many years, I did not connect with his soul, his spirit. He felt lost to me from when he left, from when I was 8 years old. In this journey, I was laying on the bed. My father's spirit came in, his soul dropped in and he wrapped around me and I screamed. It's like, where have you been? Where have you been? And my father wrapped around me and he held me and I was like, oh, I melted into this father's love. And I was like, wow, this is what women are looking for. This is what young girls are looking for. This is what we're all looking for. Our parents' love, the Father's love, the Almighty Father's love. And it was so
Tears are flowing back here, folks.
profound. He wrapped around me and I just felt this warmth and it was like, oh my God, I felt this completion. And then his mom came in, my grandma Judy came in. So it was like kind of like this triad. She came in, my dad came in, and the room was full of angels. There was wings everywhere, and I spit out the Our Father, just started channeling the Our Father. Everybody was praying through me because I was here in a human body. And ever since, he's been hanging out on my left shoulder. So I thank the allies for bringing me into that vibration. And what was happening, it was clearing away all of the low densities that were keeping me in a limited awareness, limited access to what is actually available, if that makes sense. So that's kind of like the light, the rainbow after the rain, and some of the really challenging dark journeys of purging and confusion. The clarity comes through.
That is so beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that.
So moving.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
Damn. Hope you guys feel that through this medium, the chills and just the reality of what these allies can do, right? Of course, right? We always hear and what can deter, especially for people like me being a hypochondriac or dealing with hypochondriism, right? That when we lose control of ourselves, that there's no return or what have you. But when you're on the edge of extreme transformation, there is always safety. And this is why Monica's work is so incredibly potent, because if you're not in a setting that is safe enough to tell you and to give you this roadmap of what could happen or how to somatically hold yourself in these situations that your body feels like you are out of control, when really you are coming into deeper parts of yourself and will expand your power more than you know, which we'll talk about more here soon.
What did you mean when you said that your dad still exists on your left shoulder?
After that day, I felt his presence. He's available, and we hang out and we chat.
I love that.
And before then, I felt like we were disconnected, like he was lost. I didn't know where he went. And he's very much present, and he's hanging out all the time. And I have two younger brothers who moved from North Idaho to St. Petersburg with me. And so when we get together, he's alive and well.
Oh my gosh, it just lights me up, girl. That's awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
So welcome.
Thank you.
Yes.
Go ahead.
I will go now, yes.
I wanted to hear some stories from you guys.
Okay, so I would say that, I guess, we're kind of sharing the both dark and light. Similarly, when you utilize psychedelic mushrooms in a way that is surrounded around reaching for something, I was reaching for instant gratification. I was looking for a deeper connection with my partner, who I've been with now for 6 years, and we had taken shrooms together for the first time. We were at his mom's house. They were out of town, and he invited one of his old friends over, and this individual that had showed up was not aware to me when we were taking the medicine. And so when this individual showed up, I completely, the veil of boundaries completely dissipates. So whoever and whatever you are around inside of the capsule just like sinks and leaches into your soul. And I did not really particularly like this friend. And so it just completely spoiled my energy and sent me, quite literally, I was having visuals of being in a car parking garage going around and around and around and around. And it just made me ill. And then my body just craved crying. I love to cry. Our listeners know that Liz loves to cry. And Liz was crying, sobbing. It was like I could not even contain myself. the individual ended up going home, and it was a really beautiful experience afterwards. But it's to say that when you do utilize these medicine allies, you have to be very wary in the beginning until you have encapsulated a boundary that exists within yourself, walking into every space. Like you said, you were in a completely new house, in a completely new space, and you were able to encapsulate yourself inside of that divine channeling to receive that. But that is a really powerful skill that most don't have, especially on their very first time of taking a large dose. So to say, it happens, and nonetheless, it didn't scare me away from indulging in that, but it definitely took me a little moment to regulate myself from that experience. It wasn't extreme. I wasn't having like demonic presences coming to visit me. You know, I've heard some crazy things come through when that veil dissipates, but it really just was an intense absorption of someone else's very dysregulated self. Outside of that very lame story, we're going to get into the light one. And the light one is the best. Again, I'm with Elijah. We were in City Park in New Orleans. We had brought art, food, fruits, oils, candles, my drum. We were like sitting with this whole like space like blocked off for us. And we probably took around 2.5 grams, which is pretty large for my body. And that was the largest that I've ever taken still to this day. And we sat down in this park, and I was drawing and I was dancing and I was sunning and I was like moving around this whole space, and Elijah was playing this drum. And I'm telling you, man, he just like got into this flow where he was just like, boom. We sat everyone down in the whole park. The whole park is now watching us. They came by, were handing us money. We're fucking tripping on shrooms. I'm like doing this little like hula girl shit. I'm telling you, people dropped off like $35 for us in ones. We had just like ones like all over the ground. That's amazing. After everybody had kind of like dissipated and I switched over to the drum, we started to channel the Fae.
Yes.
And the Fae started to, we were like around these cypress trees, and it was like, we were like right in the middle. And I have a very deep connection with blue jays. And these blue jays were coming in, and Fae were on the blue jays, and they were coming in and like singing with us to the songs that we were tapping. And it was just like, ever since that point, Elijah embodied his spirit more than I had ever known him to embody, which I get questions a lot being in such a long-term relationship. And I am very integrative in the rituals that I practice daily. And it's like, well, does your man do that too? Does he read cards too? Does he pray too? Yes. But you know what? That specific instance right there reawoken his childhood self to remember that magic is real. And he just really just like he locked in, like a switch went off for me too. I mean, the shit was crazy. Like the Fae was like on the birds. And we just had like cash everywhere. And I was like, whoa, man, like abundance. Boom. 1, 2, 3. Like it was it was the best trip that I've had so far. So.
Dang.
Yes.
That sounds so incredible, and I want to watch that show. I'm trying to be invited to that circus, whatever the hell's going on there with this girl and her man. And when that union's just like your polarities are playing off of each other. Damn, that's inspiring for me to take some shrooms with my man. Yeah, so I will say, being the hypochondriac of the group, where my story, if you guys have heard on previous episodes, comes from a very scary time where at 21 years old, I'm taking a not medicinal product, but a drug of sorts that, you know, lets go of all your serotonin, Molly or MDMA, whatever it was a very beautiful time on the medicine or on the drug, right? But the post was very hard for me. But prior to my extremely huge awakening, what I call my first kind of Kundalini awakening or coming to Jesus moment from the post Molly experience, was my first mushroom experience, which back then, looking back in what I know about mushrooms now, it was probably a microdose. I'm remembering how I felt. The stars were twinkling, but there was really not a lot of psychedelic visions or what have you, but feeling really good and feeling really inspired. But we are unfortunately hit with a unfortunate event where my friend, who was also on the medicine, something happened in her body. I don't know if it was a temperature extreme. We were outside, it was freezing, we came back inside, but she had a seizure like in front of me. And so witnessing that completely shut me down and put extreme fear into my body at the time. It felt like all medicine just left my body, and I just went into a state of complete fear and like trauma. So for like 3 days, I couldn't, sleep well, and was just having really, I didn't have the tools that I have now to understand what was going on. Then my drug experience happened 6 months later. So then I went on my whole journey of hypochondria and extreme conservatism, and really trying to articulate what the hell was going on somatically through the lens of religion, which of course is now coming back in beautiful ways. However, 3 years ago, when I really left my entire life in that whole entire era, came to St. Pete, started over, very shortly after, like a year and a half in, is where I meet Monica. And there was something about Monica that just drew me in. There's something, right? This is frequency that you don't even know what they have to offer, but you're familiar. And the energy just was there. And of course we became friends, and I'm, deeply getting to understand what she's about. And finally my journey leads me to her product. And her product, I, of course, was on my spiritual journey, doing my own thing, and I started to take her little microdoses from Spirit Spores and really forgot about it, because it's just a supplement, right? Microdoses are supposed to be sub-perceptual. So I was kind of willing at the time to okay, I'm really scared of this, but I had been working a little bit with marijuana, plant medicine prior to that, introducing plants back into my life after a decade of being very fearful of anything making me not feel sober. So I'm taking these mushrooms, one capsule every day, and I'm having the most incredible, online connection. It feels like I'm like, God is with, I haven't felt so incredibly lit up and alive and connected with God and the oneness of all things. And I'm forgetting what I'm even taking. It's like, I forgot. I'm like, oh my God, that's right. I've been taking these mushrooms. So slowly, as I started to microdose throughout the months, it finally came that I think I'm ready to really sit in a clinical ceremonial space with these things. And of course, hilarious that God brings me the most perfect person for a hypochondriac. It's I'm not ever going to explore the freaking mysteries of the universe unless there's a damn facilitator that comes into my life and has integration tools and can guide me. And wow, looking back, my 1 year anniversary of a macro dose for me in my body, which I think was again around just 2 grams. I think, right, Monica? We only got up to 2 grams that night. Barely. And I'm full journeying, right? And it was so beautiful. It was my trips this far, and of course I plan to work continually with mushrooms and some other plants, but that trip was so affirming to the work that I did. And just these affirmations that I got to hold with me that Monica helped me just anchor in of the medicine's only going to show you what you need, what you have to what you have the capacity to handle, to see. This is all for you. And the healing that happened, she was clearing my womb, preparing me for my freaking union to come in. I saw myself in the mirror. I turned into this cartoon character. I had all the typical psilocybin effects, and I was just so blown away that I was able to hold them and not go into a spiral of extreme fear and all the things that I had dealt with for 10 years. And of course, it's this is the new way of me getting to know myself, is pushing those edges and allowing medicine to be medicine and not being scared that seeing beyond the veil is going to shoot me into some offshoot. No, it's bringing you closer to yourself always. There is no time. The journey is always bringing us back. So it's so cool to be here. And we'd love to dive in now to some really just kind of physical and biological aspects of these mushrooms. Let's get into it. For people who don't work with these incredible beings, tell us a little bit about the biology of adaptogens and psilocybin.
Okay, let's understand what the heck is going on in our brain when we are working with these psychoactive compounds. So, let's break it down. Psilocybin is the active ingredient that's found in the psychoactive mushrooms, and when you ingest them, it gets broken down into psilocin, which is a psychoactive compound that can cross your the blood-brain barrier. So this psilocin, it mimics serotonin, primarily binding to the 5-HT2A receptors, especially in the prefrontal cortex of the brain. What does this mean? So this area governs mood, imagination, and perception. This is why when we work with the psilocybin, we see increased cognitive flexibility, emotional depth, and what we call neuroplasticity, which is your brain's ability to change and grow. When we are working with the medicine, it also disrupts something called the default mode network. This is the part of our brain that is associated with more rigid thinking, where we're kind of on autopilot, okay? Mind wandering, rumination when we're thinking about ourselves. The psilocybin can come in and drive a wedge into the default mode network, creating a window of opportunity for a new awareness to come in, or for you to maybe change your mind. That's what we're all trying to do, is to change our mind, right? Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Cool. So,
I was going to say, just
Yeah.
on that note of like neuroplasticity and like, and how it compares to other therapies, right? It's like, we're all trying to do the same thing, which is change the neural pathway of the way that your brain is naturally going down a certain way behavior, right? It
Yes.
takes awareness, and it's all based in belief systems. So this is just the physical aspect of what this can do to your chemicals to assist you in fast tracking these things.
So imagine like your brain is a city and there's a bunch of roads. And these roads are where traffic or your thoughts travel. Okay? You know how we always take the same road to work? Psilocin comes in and is like, okay, let's create some new roads here.
Shortcuts, right?
Yeah. It clears the roadblocks and the traffic. You're tired of sitting in traffic. Okay, we're going to move this along. We're going to complete this emotional process or whatever got stuck here, creating a window of opportunity. Now, the interesting thing about neuroplasticity is I've heard people kind of describe it a couple of different ways. Many people describe it as creating new pathways in the brain. And I love what Soul Sisterins, how she describes neuroplasticity as we're actually just accessing more of the pathways. Everything is already there. We're just accessing more of the brain versus like forging new paths, if that helps your brain put it together.
Or helps your nervous system conceptualize, like, what am I doing? Like, you know, like, what is it going to be? This like fear that comes in of changing or, you know, like fixing and stuff. It's just, you are already, all the versions of you and all the higher selves that you feel underneath everything is accessible.
Yeah.
It's just the matter of how we get there.
Right. This is your sacred journey. Yeah. And we're not supposed to know it all. No. Right. That's the point. When we're working with these medicines, it's like, it's supposed to be a mystery. Yeah. Enjoy.
Yeah. Sometimes, like when you were doing that analogy of the cars driving on the road, it's like the body loves habitual firing and repetitiveness. So it's like you consistently every day revisit the same amount of neurochemical cocktails that go into the bloodstream every single day, every single time you do the same thing. Yes. And psilocybin kind of just reminds me sometimes, like when you have a quote unquote bad trip, it's like it forges a new road and you just like slam into all the shit that's like on like all the traffic. You just like slam right into it and just like cause like a 6-car buildup.
You're like, what the?
You're like, fuck it.
Fuck it all. This is not what I was expecting on the way to work.
Fuck it all, Tom.
Look at all this junk. Fuck.
Actually, I have to do something about it. I can't be on autopilot anymore. I have to get myself through this deep water.
I know too much now. There's no going back.
And how uncomfortable that really can be, depending on the content, you know, of whatever it is.
I mean, we're creatures of comfort and of habit. Yeah. And so the fungi allies are so amazing to help come in and gently or not so gently show us
like,
a
that
new
shit's
way.
Boring. Fuck.
Yeah.
You're boring. Let's spice
like,
it
hey,
up.
you're only using 12% of your potential here.
Yeah. Just trying to let you up.
Which is a crazy statistic in terms of like brain functioning and like actual capacity. It's like pretty insane statistically.
I've been looking at myself in the mirror lately, knowing the power of our words and stuff, and I look at myself dead in the eye and I say, I'm using 30% of my brain today.
I love that. Oh, I'm definitely doing that.
Watch me take over the world.
I love it.
With just 30%, baby. All it takes is a mustard seed to move the mountain.
That's 2% in you bitches.
So tell us a little bit about adaptogens and how, of course, you use them in your blends to complement. Is that right? Mm-hmm. And what the biology is with those fungi and how they're working with the psylli.
Yeah. Adaptogens are so fun. I like to consider adaptogens they can be a daily ally of support, helping us to be flexible of our body and flexible of mind. Psilocybin is more of like a disruptor, a teacher. And adaptogens come in with all sorts of different kinds of support, immune support, gut support, energy support, nervous system support. And I wanted to share, can I share some of my favorite adaptogens with you guys?
Please.
I'm sure those listening are familiar with some of these. Lion's mane is a huge ally, very popular right now. Some of my favorite adaptogens, I love to combine them with the psilocybin because when we do that, it can create a beautiful synergistic effect where the mushrooms are really working together to deliver the medicine and to bring the lasting wholesome full spectrum support for you and make sure that the benefits of everything that you're ingesting are maximized.
Keyword is lasting. I love that. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yes. Really. So I love to play with different blends, and I'm going to tell you guys just 4 of my most favorite adaptogens. Lion's mane, of course, right? Lion's mane is amazing to support nerve regeneration and neuroplasticity. So combined with psilocybin is amazing. You've probably heard of the Stamets stack. Okay?
No, please tell us.
Oh, okay. So that's B1, niacin, lion's mane, and psilocybin.
Nice.
You can take all 3 of those together, and it is a flush. It's a detox. It supports your energy and makes that trio it can be kind of powerful. So do your research before you look into it, because sometimes if you overdo it, it can be a little bit uncomfortable. It is so powerful. Mm-hmm. That's the Stamets stack.
What do you mean by it could be uncomfortable?
When you take a combination of the niacin and the lion's mane, you can almost experience like a flush, like everything's opening up and your blood vessels are opening up. You might look red in the face. Yeah,
be a little alarming.
Your temperature might fluctuate. It can be physically uncomfortable.
Interesting. Cool.
Mm-hmm.
So it's vasodilating.
Yes.
Okay. Nice.
Reishi is probably one of my favorite mushrooms. Think of reishi as like more yin energy, the mushroom of longevity. You can think of it as like the spiritual elder of the fungi family. It's ancient. My grandmother was drinking Ganoderma reishi coffee before anyone knew about any of this stuff, before adaptogens were even like
trendy.
A thing. Yes. So I love reishi. It's beautiful for your immune system, and it's deeply calming. Let's go to Cordyceps. Yes, I know you guys love Cordyceps. Lisa loves Cordyceps. It enhances physical stamina, libido, right?
Ooh.
ATP production, and it enhances your oxygen uptake. It's a powerhouse. Mm-hmm. Get the Cordyceps in your body, go on a run, or get into bed, see what happens. Yes.
And that's in your energy blend.
Yes, ma'am. Yes. The infamous energy blend where Spores started is an equal blend of lion's mane, chaga, cordyceps, and psilocybin. And to this day, it is the most popular blend.
It is my favorite. That was the first blend that I took from you, and I had messaged Monica, and I was like, bitch, look, this was so, I took it, I went to school, and I had a break day at school, so I went to school and I was able to sit outside all day, and I was just in the sun, on the ground, no coffee, no caffeine needed. It was just, I was jiving. So good.
Exactly. That is the blend. If you are looking to transition off of SSRIs, you're trying to get off of pharmaceuticals for your mental health. If you are looking to stop caffeine or stimulants, try the energy blend. Yeah. If you're a little mentally crazy try the energy blend. And I'm telling you, I have all of the personal trainers and the fighters on the energy blend. It's amazing to combine with movement.
It's valid.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I was jiving, girl.
Yes.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Super
Interesting.
awesome.
And again, for my hypochondriacs out there who think like, oh, I don't need any more stimulus. I'm already anxious. I'm already stimuli. This is actually a more balancing, instead of grabbing for your cup of coffee that you don't realize is also giving you the exact same somatic effect that you actually are trying to get away from, right? You're anxious. So you think, but I'm addicted to coffee. It's like, you don't realize that all the somatics that are going on in your body are the same. You're just identifying them as something, and that's attached to some sort of fear or judgment of it. So I encourage you, coming from someone like me that would never try mushrooms, this blend is for you if you're just trying to get any type of, like you're saying, the SSRIs.
Oh my gosh. It's for moms.
Yes.
If you're a parent, oh my gosh, it's life
a little
changing
pep in your
for
step,
parents.
Right? And coffee kind of drains and dehydrates the body, when a little energy blend in the afternoon could be the perfect pick-me-up.
On average, how much psilocybin per gram is in each microcapsule?
In my blends is only 100 milligrams per capsule of active ingredient. Microdose is typically between 100 milligrams to 300 milligrams, more or less. I like the sweet spot of about 200 milligrams, so feel free to take 1 or 2, and that keeps you in that microdosing window.
Yeah. Honestly, I took 1 the entire times that I have taken your blends, and 1 for me feels like perfect. It doesn't, I feel like with 2, you really start to feel the shift of the veil, and some people may not want that if they were taking it and then trying to be productive in the 3D reality. Totally. So I would do 1, and then depending on your body weight and your experience with the mushrooms, I think that's really good advice.
Totally. If you are just starting out, give yourself some space to go in with the microdose a few times, just to start to explore your dynamic and your relationship with it, because there will be times where you might take a Texas short cap, and you'd be sitting at your computer, and all of a sudden you want to be topless, smoking a joint outside, eating an apple in the wild.
Dripping down your tits.
And you're like, what's wrong with me?
Right.
And it's like, what's right?
Right. This is my truth.
What's going on? I'm becoming more real. Fuck.
Okay, so actually, great. I'm glad that you said that about Texas short caps. We always talk about adaptogens having different personalities and different names with different effects. Can you tell us a few of your favorite psychoactive?
Totally. Yes. So let's talk about what makes strains have different effects, just really quickly. So different psilocybin strains can have varying potency, alkaloids and energetic signatures. What does that mean? The psilocybin content can vary. Take a strain like penis envy, for example. A couple of grams of penis envy is not going to be the same as a couple of grams as, for example, a very beginner, light, easy mushroom like Golden Teacher or B+. So the actual active ingredient content can vary.
So it has more, like penis.
Yes, for sure.
More.
Distributed throughout the cap and the stem. And this affects the intensity of the visuals you're going to get, ego dissolution or not, and the duration of your journey. The other component is the alkaloid profile. Okay? This includes the tryptamines that affect the tone of the experience. Euphoric versus more grounding. Visual versus more body-based. For example, I have a couple of strains that are definitely more body-based and others that aren't. And another factor that influences the strains is the growth conditions, inside or outside, wild versus lab-grown. Mm-hmm. Okay, this all plays a role in their effects on your nervous system. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, go ahead.
What strains do you specifically have? Yeah, we want to hear about those.
2 of my favorite strains that are a little bit different. I have a couple of different specialty strains that I have found to be a dream to work with. And one of those is Texas short caps. Everyone loves the Texas short caps. It's a mutant strain of penis envy. So they're strong, just a little bit shorter, because no one wants a fucking, foot-long penis envy. I mean, I don't know. Maybe. I'll take that back.
No pun intended.
A little easier to work with the short ones.
Like a little chode one. Yes.
Yeah.
Bite size.
It's easy to break down the chubs. This strain is incredibly potent. Emotional depth, ego dissolution if you take it in higher amounts. This is a wonderful strain if you are struggling with managing symptoms of ADHD, severe depression, and anxiety. It has a beautiful purging effect. This is a strain that I use in ceremony in larger doses with clients who are really struggling with autoimmune conditions, cancer, infection, that sort of a thing. It will cleanse you on a cellular level. I mean, you will come out of the journey with no inflammation, pain-free for weeks. Like, I've seen this happen over and over again. They're amazing. So definitely not something that you would maybe start out with typically. A little bit stronger. But yeah, again, you never know. Everybody's relationship with the medicine is unique and individual.
Mm-hmm. I think you had me on, like, for our ceremony, I took almost the 2 grams of Texas, right? And it was such a beautiful experience. It's like,
Good.
Although they were, like you're saying, more potent.
A little aggressive.
Seemingly, right? But it's like, this is why it's such a beautiful and different experience to be exploring these medicines with someone who has gone to the depths with them. Like we mentioned in the beginning, that Monica has such a relationship with these incredible teachers that she knows the depths of where and what. And this is why dosing and working with someone, just like you would a therapist with your SSRIs, is so important.
Period. Yes. It
is not a question anymore.
Duh. Next question.
Seriously, though. I mean, I dove in there head first by myself with zero support, and I stumbled my way through it, and I wrote a life-changing program out of it, and that's why I do what I do now. But definitely recommend some guidance and support. Set yourself up for success. The other strain that I want to introduce to you guys is the community's favorite. They're called Blue Magnolias. And although they do have a high psilocybin content, they tend to be a little bit more gentle. They are incredibly emotionally expansive. So if you are working through grief, emotional processing, trauma, releasing emotion from the body, the Blue Magnolias are your ally for that. They're very euphoric and heart-opening and definitely body-based. You take a gram or so of the Blue Magnolias, you'll notice this warm, fuzzy energy in your body, like a blanket of just compassionate safety and love. And they're wonderful, so I've heard from Lindsay, for your creative process, to tap into your creative ability.
And it's so interesting with mushrooms that, like, of course, right, with everything in your environment is affecting your experience, right? Mm-hmm. The music that you're taking in, the lighting, everything. So I will say that, yes, with the Blue Mags, if I'm by myself, doing my normal routine on my computer and I take a Blue Mag, very creative. But I will say also, I feel the main essence of these was absolutely way more emotionally supportive, because I took one capsule and went to like a social setting in a static dance, and it hit me way harder than it did when when I'm alone and in my own realm, right? And it really led me into the grief that I was currently going through, and just allowed me to meet it at a space that I didn't realize how deep it needed to be processed yet. I was like, wow, I thought I was like processing this. Yeah. And she really, I call them she's, but she really put me face to face with my grief that night. I was not expecting that. I'm like, this is usually sub-perceptual, but you get me in, again, and your environment is everything with mushrooms. It's so important to make it ceremonial. This is not recreational. These are serious teachers that you need to be safe. And of course, it's like the kind of, we know that, right? So, you should be in the right setting, but it's being in a clinical setting is where your life will change dramatically and quickly.
You don't need to take 5 grams. You don't need to take 8 grams of mushrooms. You need 2. You can take 2, 2.5, with the right support, you're going to get the breakthrough and the medicine that you need.
Yeah, I can agree to that. I think it's tempting to be very obsessive with hyperconsumption culture when it comes to medication, because people view it as medication and not as medicine. And so in this reality, it's like, well, I've been taking mushrooms for 7 years, and I need to take 6 grams in order to feel something. It's a very disarray reality when it comes to what the intention is with mushrooms. Because if your intention is to have intense visuals and have stories to tell and possibly really damage your nervous system from the experience, then 10 toes down, 2 feet on the ground, you got it, Joe. But at the same time, it's like, you brought up a very important topic about these 2 favorites of yours, the Texas short caps and the blue magnolias, and how the integration between the 2 are drastically different. And so I wanted to kind of turn back around to that conversation, because to my understanding, mushrooms have this very expansive quality about them. And so in the ways that you have worked with yourself and with your clients, what do you feel like has really allowed this expansiveness to occur in the ways that you promote integration?
Yes. The Great Awakening. Everyone wants to do mushrooms. Everyone wants to experience a psychedelic awakening or a spiritual awakening. And it's happening. It's inevitable. But the byproduct is your great somatic awakening. It's the awakening and the remembering that occurs in your body. So when we're working with our fungi allies, we're increasing our capacity to do, be, and have more of what we came here to do and who we came here to be and what we came here to enjoy. So the integration work, heavy emphasis on nervous system nourishment and attending to your body, exploring the language of your body, because as you work with mycelium is the great connector. Mycelium, let's just consider this for a second. It is like the fascia of the earth. It is the great connector. It's the communication system. It's delivering nutrients and delivering messages across the entire earth. So when you start working with mushrooms, your body turns on, starts talking to you. You start noticing maybe a density or a quality of emotion in your body. And it can be, I didn't notice that before. I've been carrying that for a long time. Things start coming up to the surface. And that is no simple, easy process. It asks you to tend to yourself, to tend to yourself, to listen, to check in with yourself. What do I need? How do I want to feel today? What needs attention? What's not aligned? Do I need to break up with my toxic partner or drink a tall glass of iced water? Like discerning what it is that your body is asking for. Because think about it, we've spent the first half of our life disconnected, disassociated, and disempowered. So you start connecting into the mycelium network and your nervous system starts lighting on, your cellular memory starts talking to you, and you start dreaming vividly, and you start feeling everything in your sensitivity. Like I said, it can either take you out or it can be your superpower. So the integration work is supporting us in learning how to manage being fully alive with our senses turned all the way up so that we can actually be available to let more pleasure and love and riches come through and be able to have the energetic and the physical, emotional capacity to hold a more richer, greater experience. And that is the work. Like, especially if you're working with the mushrooms too, it's going to guide your eating. It's going to be like, hey, you need to stop self-abandoning. Hey, eat some goddamn fruit. Yeah. Hydrate. You know what I mean? So that's the in-between. That's what it's all about. And that journey is so sacred in itself. And that is the activation of you coming into your alchemist era.
I love the visual, envisioning that when you ingest something that is of Earth, you kind of tap on, and it's kind of like a walkie-talkie system between the entire globe of like everything just kind of like that visual like feels really, really strong. And I feel like that is what allows psychoactive allies to give you those visuals of otherworldly or of naturistic things, because you are quite literally just like tapping in at random moments to things that are already existing and in communication. So it's really super cool to really put that together. Thank you so much for sharing that. That was a really beautiful way of viewing it.
Well, it's like, holy shit, I'm an extension of nature.
Yeah.
Like, I'm a part of the natural world.
Which
Weird.
It's a hilarious, like, duh, right? It's like you could say it out loud and you're like, duh. But when that shit, just like this has been coming online for me, like cliches, right? That words and things are living and breathing. That's why you can read ancient texts over and over and over again, because when you're reading it from different eyes, it hits you differently. You can hear the same damn live, laugh, love, or any cliche, right? That when you have ears to hear, you're ready. And this is what the mushrooms have done for me, is like, oh, I have heard that so many times, but now I feel it. And that's the whole thing of frequency. That's the whole thing that what we're talking about here is, right, is making life sacred again. How do we make life sacred again? Is remembering the whole damn thing is sacred. The whole damn thing is a fucking mind-blowing miracle that you are a cosmic orgasm.
Right.
How do you want to experience that, right? It's like we're all here to experience. There's no other. What I come to believe is that there is no other thing that we're doing here but to experience our soul's expansion. There's no one to become. There's nowhere to go. We're just coming on through, baby, having a good ass
I would
time.
say having a good ass time. Like
Having
I
a
feel
good
like
ass
That's what mushroom allies are all about. It's like enhancing what it felt like to be a child and find complete full body joy in watching the rain go down the side of the car as we're driving in my mom's Tahoe. Like and like having a whole music video. I'm like thinking about this boy crush and I'm like, yeah. And like, you know, like just like internalizing that and letting it move with you even as the trip ends. And so I want to just ask a question that I know that I have always wanted to ask you. And that is, can you guide us through what it is like to be a new client that comes to you for a guided trip? Like, what is the process through that? How is the experience? Because, like, I'm sure someone who is listening to this is like, that would be a really awesome experience. So, like, kind of walk us through, like, what that would look like for somebody new.
A guided trip as in a microdosing transformational journey or a ceremonial dose?
How would you differentiate what a person needs?
Me being extreme,
Intake form.
I always want to hit him with the macro. I'm like, let's get to the point. Like, stop beating around the bush. Let's get honest. When someone is looking for support in a journey, what we will do is we will connect and hone in onto what it is that you really want. And that's no simple task, because people are so focused on what they don't want. They're so focused on what's going wrong. They're so focused on the blocks that are in front of them, which is good. We need to discern what that is. But what do you really want? How do you really want to feel? Who do you really want to be living with? How do you really want to be living? Like, that takes courage to get honest about that.
Yeah.
And that is scary, because sometimes people have never been asked that.
Or it feels like it could be delusional. You're delusional if you really could admit.
And your delusions are welcome here.
I don't feel like someone has been asked that with the intention of what you're asking. Because if their mother is asking them what they want, they are going to respond with the predestined answer to make that person happy. So when being in the front of someone who they've never met before with the intention of solely serving their highest experience in that moment, how would you kind of work around that?
What's the question?
So if someone presented themselves to you and they could not get to the point of what they really want because they've never been really asked that before, they're waiting for mommy or daddy or bestie or boyfriend to ask them, right? So how would you then guide them through that step?
Well, I guess we would go on the process of exploration together. Because it is a journey. And I mean, our desire is so sacred. Our desire, getting in touch with our desire, what we really want, our desire is spirit seeking expression through us. That is sacred. That is God seeking expression in art through your eyes, your body, your experience. So, I mean, when someone feels called to work with the medicine, the journey started. The journey's already started. And things start moving and start turning in motion, and things start coming up immediately. So in the process of preparation, hone in onto their intention. What do you want? What would you like to invite in for yourself? And really setting them up for success with just reassurance and confidence, understanding that they are held in that space, and it's safe to surrender to whatever wants to come through. And there are other things to consider too, like preparing your vessel. If you're going in, indigenous cultures going into medicine journeys, they do a dieta, right? Cutting out sugar, sex, processed foods. That definitely is something that helps prepare your vessel and your mental for the journey, for deep work. So, I offer guidance on how to prepare physically, nutrition-wise, rest-wise, and I immediately start bringing in resources for them to regulate their nervous system, whether it's emotional freedom technique, breathing techniques, havening, movement, all that good stuff. And each journey with each person is always different. It's unique. But at the end of the day, we're all looking for the same things, right? We all want to feel good. We all want freedom. We all want to bite into our potential,
How long is a microservice with you versus a macroservice with you?
Well, if you're looking to journey microdosing, a sweet spot that I have found is, technically 4 to 6 weeks. If you're integrating the medicine effectively around 4 to 6 weeks, you really don't have to continue. You can take a break and then revisit if you would like. So I have a 2-month-long microdosing journey, Phoenix Rising, and it is group work. Mycelium work is group work. What do you know? That's where the magic happens. So if you are interested, in journeying with community, I do have a structured sacred container that is designed to empower you with all of the tools that you need to work with your process, the emotional process that will be coming up, the physical side of things, the physical evolution of your body, your relationship with your body, your relationship to food and to nature. And that is a very potent process. I mean, people's lives are never the same after the 2 months. I mean, I've had people go from living in their parents' basement, addicted to porn and sex and depressed and overweight, to thriving, building a business, traveling the world, and meeting the love of their life. I've had people go from feeling stuck in the corporate world and even, preparing for retirement, and they jump into Phoenix Rising and realize they're preparing for resurrection and transform their lives, heal their autoimmune disease. So there are things that we can use, tools that we can come back to that are the foundations of what make us human. And it's simple. It's not complicated. It doesn't look like a list of pharmaceuticals. It doesn't look like a protocol whatever isn't working for you. It's not that.
Yeah. We can beat a dead horse all day. But
Yes.
We have to awaken to
It's
that.
simple. It's not complicated.
Beautiful. That was such a juicy capsule that you just led us through. Thank you so much for sharing all of your insight, specifics, personal stories, client stories, confidentially.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for doing that.
That was not a microdose.
Not at all. That was a fat hour.
Fat hour, 6 grams. Oh, well, we have so much, of course, else that we could rabbit hole with Monica and go down. So we just invite you now to take this information and allow it to seep through your system as it will, that this episode is brought to you and comes into your journey at the right time. And we thank you so much for continuing to listen. If you are interested in Monica's work at all, Monica, tell us, I know you just briefly told us about your group support, but please tell us all the things that you offer, where people can find you, and how to answer your call.
Absolutely. You can find me at HeartSpace Revolution on all platforms, heartspacerevolution.com, HeartSpace Revolution on Instagram as well as TikTok. You can send me a DM, say hello, and I would love to chat. I love to get into it. Right now, if you are looking for dramatic transformation, I have a high-touch 3-week intensive called Recalibrate, where we will dive into all things hypnosis, microdosing, and cellular detox. So if you are a therapist, if you are a practitioner or a whole health facilitator looking to evolve your practice, take your practice to the next level, bring microdosing as a modality into your practice, I'm your girl. I got a certification for you, and I have an embodied journey for you. And we will go on that together, and we will increase your capacity to do, be, and have everything that you want and desire.
Amazing.
Thank you so much for journeying with me.
Oh, thank you so much, Monica. We're going to close off today with just a little short announcement. We're going to be getting the Luminators podcast onto YouTube platform very, very soon. So we're very excited to share that. Our faces, our spaces, our loves, our light, our laughs, our cute little fits that we be putting on before we come and sit in here and bullshit for an hour and 30 minutes. So thank you wholeheartedly for listening today, showing up, opening your heart. We're going to close this space with some love. Any announcements that Lindsay would like to share about her recent updates?
Nope, guys, we are so incredibly supported by your incredible words that you share with us. So please continue that, like, share, and be with us. Loomies, we're so grateful for you. Find us on Instagram, reach out, tell us what you want to hear next. But we'll be back with another episode of this spring portal before we go into summer.
Yes. Have a great week, Loomies.
Much love.
Bye.